Third part. Having passed over Kaliko 4 days before his earthbound compatriots, Hiki witnessed his encounter with the nobles atop the pass, and was continuing his surveillance when he was forced to do battle with a bizarre flying object launched by one of the nobles on the ground. Though he destroyed his opponent, the windsuit he needed to fly was damaged, forcing him to drop a highly efficient bomb and level the entire hill. Desperately trying to maneuver his out-of-control windsuit, Hiki managed a crash landing at the spot where Dee and the others later encountered him. His whole body was battered by the emergency landing, leaving him unable to move at all for a full day. Lending credence to the story, he spun about being a drifter whose horse had run off, and helping to fool Dee and the others, although Dee's indifference to the new arrival also played a large part. Having easily gained permission to travel with them, Hiki's phenomenal luck made him arrogant enough to think it would be a simple matter to abduct Anne. However, he soon realized why Dee could be so indifferent, and the man's terror couldn't be denied. Instinct told him that he tried anything funny, he would be killed, and it would come without a second's pause to explain himself, and the very instant Dee became wise to him. He immediately abandoned any plans of abducting Annette. At the same time, Hiki maintained his ruse of being an upstanding traveling companion, deciding to entrust his own fate to Dee as well. There were two deeply rooted reasons for this. First, for someone like him who traveled the frontier with no blade but the dagger on his belt, he could wish for no greater bodyguard than Dee. Next, if by some chance Dee were slain, making off with Annette would become easy enough. Toward that end, he'd need to repair his windsuit and reclaim his weapon. It would take time, but he needed to do it quickly, and in utmost secrecy. In other words, without Dee suspecting anything was amiss. And then the problem of Dee's dismissal and his own promotion to bodyguard had presented itself. Like a game bird, so foolish it doesn't even know it's only for sport, and never notices the importance of the protection the hawk has afforded it, she'd flown right into the waiting arms of the huntsman. But Hiki was at a loss. The reason went without saying. He, too, was now bereft of Dee's protection. Nevertheless, he'd instantly reconsidered because 2 days would suffice to repair his windsuit, and he'd be able to make off with Annette without any interference from Dee. While Dee was around, there was precious little chance of abducting the girl. But if Annette sent him packing, there'd be no problem at all. Those 2 days would be a dangerous time to weather, but fortunately they'd run into the arms dealer. If Hiki could get weapons enough to hold them for 2 days, the rest of the trip could be done by air. A normal person like Annette was too heavy to carry home in 1 day, but 2 days seemed manageable. Though the nobles' flying object worried him, he didn't think they'd have many of those. At any rate, as long as Annette was away from Dee, he'd manage something. Hiki was sure of that. "Step forward," Dee told him. Ice water raced down his spine. "What for?" he asked, and it was all he could do to keep his voice from trembling. There was no reply. Dee was gazing at him. Rather than fill him with fear, those impossibly deep eyes stirred an action more dangerous than he realized, and the man walked forward. Before he could stop, a stark gleam made a horizontal swipe at him. Hiki didn't say a word, but leaped a good 10 feet to the side to avoid the deadly blow. That's an unusual way of dodging you've got, said the hoarse voice. Dee's blade was already back in its sheath. Hiki dropped weakly to his knees. Anyone could well imagine what the result of a second slash by the hunter would have been, and the man breathed a sigh of relief. Dee said, "Get him a horse." "Yes, sir." Granny Gerhardt walked over to her wagon. Not only relieved, she seemed positively saved. The young man known as Dee had the power to freeze the blood of even those who weren't directly involved. In no time at all, the old woman had loaded a bizarre item onto its hand truck and wheeled it back. It was a metal cylinder 1.5 feet in diameter and about 3 feet long. When she stopped the hand truck, all but Dee were watching suspiciously. But the old woman smiled back as if they were showering the item with admiration. "Well, here's your new horse," she said, opening a cover near the top of the cylinder and pushing the button within. A single motor-like sound came from within the cylinder. A moment later, legs that were folded inside appeared, forming joints as they straightened out, while the front of the cylinder rose at an angle. Apparently that was the head. On seeing how the top of the cylinder, its body, subsided, Pick bugged his eyes and said, "It's even got a seat. What more could you ask for?" "Not a cyborg horse, but a completely automated mecha horse," Granny Gerhardt said, proudly slapping the barrel of the beast. "No different in speed or performance from your average racehorse, but 1,000 times easier to handle. What's more, you just need to gas her up once a month. And no feed bills. Only needs maintenance once every 10 years or 2. All for the incredibly low price of $1,000. "I'll take it, and pay in cash," Annette said, raising her right hand. "That's highway robbery." All eyes turned to the source of those words. It was Dee. Granny Gerhardt stammered guiltily. "What are you talking about?" "That's more than I have to take even from you." "I saw the same horse last year in the village of Calva. It was $500. Granny Gerhardt backed up, murder on her face. Sweat pouring from her brow, the old woman said, "The price of everything shoots through the roof this time of year." "You old swindler," Pick snarled. Ignoring him, the old woman said, $900? "Too high, $550, Annette replied. Here she showed herself for a daughter of the frontier. Those brought up out there knew better than to waste money. $900? $600, $850, $630. All right, Hiki interrupted. Sick of the whole business. I'll buy it. How does $750 sound? Granny Gerhardt folded her arms. For 2 or 3 seconds she maintained her scowl, then said, "Well, I guess I don't have much choice, do I?" "Oh, you had money on you," Pick said, staring at Hiki moodily. "Yeah, I'm a reliable guy." "So, you're a drifter hoping to open a dry goods store in the future or something?" "Ugh, it's so cold." "Nothing else matters so long as you can pay cash. Anyway, it's sold. Anything else you might be wanting?" Granny Gerhardt asked, her face breaking into a smile. "Just one more thing." "Oh, just one, eh?" And the old woman was visibly displeased. "I want one of those personalized portable bunkers the nobility used." Everyone's eyes bulged, except Dee's. The old woman whistled, and Pig made a disagreeable face. The man had crossed a line. Sounding amused, the hoarse voice said, "That's a hell of a purchase. Didn't know he was so loaded. More to the point, does this wrinkly old hag even stock a portable bunker?" "I don't care what idiots say, you lousy parasite," the old woman sneered. "Unlike you, I'm not so worthless I need someone else's legs to get around. And there are weapons I've collected traveling all across the frontier under my own power. All of them top-notch goods. Even a noble would be glad to have." And 5 minutes later, a gleaming silver sleeping bag was tossed on the ground in front of the group. Quickly checking the circuitry and energy plate, Hiki gave a satisfied nod. "It's a nice one. I'll give you $300,000. Ha! Granny Gerhardt's jaw dropped. She'd just been ready to ask for $200,000. "Don't kid me. $500,000. 330,000. 480,000. Thinking, here we go again with the pointless haggling, Pick looked up at the sky. His expression changed. It grew tense. Something's flying this way. Hinting at evening, the sky was heavy with a deep blue. To the east, a black spot was definitely visible. It was drawing closer. Hiki was the first to recognize it. However, he couldn't very well say that, nor did he have any intention of telling them. "I'm not sure what it is," said the man, "but I think we'd best haul ass out of here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gone." "Nope," said the old woman. "Nope," said the old woman. "Not gonna make it in time," the hoarse voice said. Hiki grabbed Annette's hand and dashed toward the personal bunker. A clod of dirt that sprang up right in front of him halted his run. "Your money first," shouted the old woman, standing there like some angry temple guardian, with a pair of revolvers she'd had hidden on her somewhere. Even as he opened the saddlebag over his shoulder and pulled out a wad of bills, Hiki kept his glare trained on the sky above. The black flying object sort of looked like a toy, and there was no more than 3 wings strung together. "Dee, what are you going to do?" the old woman asked as she moved toward her wagon. "Take care of him," he replied, pushing Pick toward her, and then with a light kick off the ground, Dee sailed out beyond the barricade of corpses. Perhaps noting Dee as he jogged toward the center of the square, the flying object changed direction slightly. Not even going for his blade, Dee halted at his destination, the center of the square. "Here it comes," the left hand that hung limply by his side said with apparent amusement. What was it finding so enjoyable? The instant the black object passed overhead, a gleam of light shot from Dee's back, and it definitely passed right through the flying object. However, instead of being cut in two as it should have been, the flying object went into a steep climb that swiftly reached the stratosphere. Chapter 4, End.